X-Files and Ghostbusters? What could go wrong? NERDSoul. Late Ill Kid at OneYoungsta holding it down, bringing that StreetGeek and NERDSoul. What is up, my people? Today, oh yeah, we about to get into another wonderful episode of Talk Shop. That's right, we're going to be talking about comic books. We're going to push everything aside because we are continuing our read-along of Ghostbusters. And this is part of a crossover that IDW had called The X-Files Conspiracy. And man, it's interesting to see how they played this, because I was wondering whether this was going to be an X-Files, comic book with, a Ghostbusters skin, or if this was going to be a Ghostbusters comic book with the, kind of touch of X-Files flavor. And I'll have to say, man, it seems like they really meshed this together pretty well. Both teams got their, I guess you could say, their fill. They both got their playing time, their screen time, if you will, or their, I guess, page time. But the reason for the X-Files Conspiracy, Fox Mulder, Scully, they're doing their thing in DC, and the Lone Gunmen of John, Melvin, Ringo, they're all kind of traveling around, I guess, the United States, finding out and recording and reporting on these kind of like strange phenomena. And the writing by Eric Burnham it's spot on for both teams. Like the Lone Gunmen, they feel like the Lone Gunmen from X-Files. They really do. And the Ghostbusters still, of course, Eric Burnham, he wrote the first series, second series. He wrote, so much of Ghostbusters. He has the Ghostbusters down cold. So they seem, solid, and they seem real. And it's fun because both of these teams are quite similar when you put them together. Like, when they're apart, you're like, oh man, X-Files doesn't have anything to do with Ghostbusters. But when you put these teams together, at least the Lone Gunmen. Now, Scully and Fox, Scully and Fox, they're their own thing. But the Lone Gunmen and the Ghostbusters kind of work together. And when you take writing like that and you kind of weave these two teams together, it makes them work, and you end up having a lot of fun. Now, on top of that, the art is pretty fresh. It has this kind of like this colored, sort of cel-shaded kind of look to it. It's unique when it comes to the art of Ghostbusters from before, and I'm not opposed to it. Now, of course, I love Dan Schoening's art. That's my home base as far as Ghostbusters art is concerned. But I'm not mad at this. I was pretty on board with the depictions of the characters when it comes to, especially from the live action to the page. I think they did a wonderful job. Now back to the story. The real deal about all this is the Lone Gunmen are going here pretty much to defraud the Ghostbusters, being like, this is fake, this isn't real, this is some private sector guys and they don't know what they're doing, and this is just kind of scaring people into believing that they really have ghosts, but it's like lasers and, projections or something like that. And when they get to the firehouse, they are there to kind of just debunk everything. Of course, they meet Janine, and I believe Melvin is the one that kind of has a thing for it, if you will. And they want to use the bathroom. They go upstairs and they start poking around, looking at stuff. And of course, Janine said, don't touch anything with a sticker on it. Of course, what do? They touch something with a sticker on it. And the sticker literally says, it's like a Post-it note that says, do not touch this. It just straight up, do not touch. And they touch it, and it's a trap that releases a ghost. Now, before we get into all those shenanigans, let me remind you, you can find me on Black Hollywood Live. That's right, the first online network for African Americans is super dope, and you can check them out at blackhollywoodlive.com, where they have celebrity interviews, after show, sports talk, geek, nerd, tech, the whole shebang bang, and live streams every day at youtube.com/blackhollywoodlive. So now this team has this crazy ghost running all over the place. The Ghostbusters finally return from another job they're doing, and this is where you kind of start to see the teams collide and figure out, what are you doing here? You're not really, reporters or whatever, and figuring out, why are you touching stuff? And this really becomes an episode between, I believe, John and Egon. Egon and John really kind of like, they click very well, especially when it comes to the fact that he finds out that they, of course, are the Lone Gunmen. Egon's like, oh man, I used to subscribe to y'all paper, everything's great, and you just see them nerd out, and it's fun because you have these guys that are first like, man, these guys are fake. They're not real. I can't trust these guys. And the next thing you know, you're like, oh, I'm your biggest fan. I always loved you. So I like that part of them finding a common ground. Of course, them finding out that ghosts are definitely real, even though they decide not to make a definitive statement when it comes to their reports. But I love how they kind of like find the common ground and end up nerding out even after being in such a life-threatening situation. I mean, the ghost was not a joke at all. Like, this wasn't like this little, it wasn't Casper. Like, this was a Tyrannosaurus Rex-ish kind of thing with 2 mouths with a whole bunch of sharp, crazy teeth. It was bad. But after a little rough and tumble, retrapping the ghost, and some talk about time travel, everything seems to be washed up and pretty good. And that's the best thing that I can say about this episode is this episode, though it was a bottle episode, everything happened in the firehouse. This was a nice episode that gives you a break from every day, and of course last week we did Infestation. It was nice to get a break away from what we normally do, and even from Infestation, because Infestation we still had to deal with Gozer to a certain degree, but this one we didn't really reference. Oh well, hold up, they did reference Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, but for the most part this is a issue where we got away from just all of the lore, all of the craziness, and just had these guys step into a role that they normally don't get to do. They kind of, they dealt with a ghost and they got rid of the ghost, but they weren't kind of tied down to like this world-threatening thing. They were able to just kind of relax a little bit and relate to another team that's seen some crazy stuff themselves. So guys, if you have been reading along, holla at me, I'm gonna holla at you down in them comments. Let me know what you thought about X-Files Conspiracy in Ghostbusters. I mean, they went through like turtles and all kinds of other stuff, but with the Ghostbusters, I thought they had a nice little one-shot. So, of course, let me know what you think. And before you bounce, let me tell you to hit up ThatNERDSoul.com. That's right. Check me out right there. All my videos from the oldest, newest, latest, greatest, and all that. Then hit up shop.thatnerdsoul.com and pick yourself up a t-shirt, player. And don't forget to get one for them playettes. Then come back here, like, comment, subscribe, and share that Nerd Soul. That's right. There's no better way that I can show people that you like what you are watching. And of course, man, LA, what up? VA, what up? RVA, you got my heart. So please be good to yourselves. Of course, be good to each other. And remember, if there's ever a sticky note on a button that says do not touch, don't touch it. Peace.